I'm so happy to see you. Come on in. I have a chat board up. Hi, yay. Oh, so grateful. Hi, see everyone coming in. So exciting. Yeah, so this is a final class in a 16-week series, and it's called What is Your Path? And just everyone's coming in. So grateful. Just gonna give it a minute. And Right. I love these live events, I have to say. I love seeing everybody. I mean, it's just exciting to me that this is possible, right? Like that from around the world, we're able to meet and gather and join and connect in real time, live time. So, what is your path? This is just an amazing subject, and I want to keep it very simple today because this is how it worked for me. And I have a chat board up here in the Zoom room if you're on Zoom. And I think in these spiritual classes, sometimes things can feel complicated or intellectual or like overload of information. And I don't want to do that because that's not necessary. And here in the world, we believe we're bodies. We have born into time and space, and we have this direct experience of being a body, a person, a girl, a boy, gay, lesbian, transgender, the whole range of whatever we have believed ourselves to be. And there's always, as children, there's always this confusion of like, something's not quite right here. We all knew it. We all had that experience where just things didn't make any sense. And so that leads most of us to a spiritual path. And we start learning, depending on what path you're on, these different ideas that what you see out there isn't out there. It's all coming from you. You're not a body. And so we can say there's a lot of different ideas coming down the pipe here. But to me, there's two paths. There's just one of two paths. And I want to have you just look at which path you are currently on. And I want you to see how quickly you can change paths. So the two paths are the path of light and the path of darkness. So that comes from the Bhagavad Gita. It's from chapter 8 in Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna speaks to Arjuna and basically says, these are the two paths. There's no other paths. And the path of darkness is a southward path. It's the path of suffering, the path of struggling, the path of fighting. It's the path most of us are on. It's the path that I was on. That in sickness, I had physical symptoms, pain. I'm somebody who was always a hard worker. I always was a really good student. And from the time I was very little, always just like get it done, study hard, be a good person. Then I moved to New York City, got a job in publishing, the whole work hard, get it done, push through, set a goal, achieve, accomplish. And every time I tell that story, like my hands are in this fight mode because that's what it is. It's being really rooted in the body identification and pushing through life, struggling through life. And when we're on that path and we think it's normal, that's the path of complaining, blame, shame, guilt, worry, anger. And again, we think it's normal because we look around ourselves and we see everyone else doing the same thing. And we see some people so-called successful on the path of life, and other people just in depression and grief and loneliness and violence and all of that. So that's the path of darkness, the path of struggling, suffering. And then there's the path of light. And the path of light is northward. The Bhagavad Gita says the path of light is northward. Path of darkness is southward. And A Course in Miracles tells us, talks about that we kind of, if we're not aware, we start going down this downward, like on steps. And A Course in Miracles tells us, how do you know where you are? Very simply, how do you feel? And it says when we're on that path downward, it doesn't feel good. It feels bad. So the path of light is a path of compassion, a path of ease, path of flow, a path of joy. It's a path where things still are happening because life doesn't stop ever. It just doesn't. No matter how spiritually advanced you are, things are always changing all the time. That's just a given. And somehow, weirdly enough, we all somehow think that if we're spiritual enough, bad things won't happen or change won't happen. We just have this weird idea that if I can just be enlightened enough, then everything will stay the same. People won't leave me, and people won't die, and people won't get sick, and I'll always have money, and I'll always be happy, whatever, like whatever idea we have. And we know that's not true. We know that change is a given. It just is. And we're all going to be unexpectedly surprised by something in life, some bill, something that just comes out of left field. So we can choose, which path do I want to be on? The path of welcoming and compassion and joy and gratitude and seeing that when change occurs, I can stay present to it and flow with it. So I just want to see in the chat board, what path are you on? Are you on the path of suffering and struggling, or are you on the path of ease and flow? Ease and flow. Oh, awesome. Yay. And that's the best path. Struggling, ease and flow, suffering for sure. Struggling, ease and flow more often than not. Both. So the both thing, you can actually only be on one path at a time. So A Course in Miracles tells us that the speed by which we shift, we vacillate, is so quick that we think we're on both, but you're actually never on both. You're always on one or the other. And so but we switch so fast, and we're not really trained yet when we're on that path of suffering to recognize this is where I am. And I find the most powerful thing each one of us can do is to be honest about where you are. Because if you're on the path of struggling and suffering, but you're saying you're on the path of ease and flow, that's a lie. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to really start where you are and see, okay, like like to be on the path of ease and flow, but really, I am complaining. I do worry. I am living in fear. I am pushing against things. I do wish things weren't happening. I do have grievances and resentments. I am fighting. So you have to really say, okay, yes, we all have moments on that path because naturally we shift into beingness. But for me, when I really could see that I spent most of my life struggling. I was on a spiritual path for 25 years. super committed. All I wanted was to know myself and to be helpful and to be kind and to be happy and to be at peace. And I had moments, but I really was always kind of back to struggling again. And when, for me, things changed in 2018. So in 2018, I was just about to turn 50 years old. My birthday's on May 2nd. So May 2nd, 2018, I was turning 50. And I had been struggling with physical symptoms and sickness, pain for at least 6 years. And wondering, why is this happening to me? What am I eating wrong? What am I doing wrong? I don't like this. Trying everything to come back into an experience of health, harmony, and it wasn't working for me. And I was always on Google. I was always reading books that, how to heal, and nonstop for like 6 years, right? And you still have to put the appearance on that you're fine. So, for those years, I was still traveling, I was still doing things, but inside, I didn't feel good. I just felt all the time, I don't feel good. And on the day before my 50th birthday, I was thinking about what I want. And what I wanted, and I started thinking, like, is this going to be my life? Like, is this the rest of my life? Like, am I going to be struggling and looking at Google and trying all these new diets and doctors for the rest of my life till I die? And this is where, when reason kicks in, like, it's a good day, because what happened was I really was like, and I really felt I'm dying. I just, for years, I just was like, something is seriously wrong with me. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on the planet. And I just wanted to heal. And 6 years of this. And finally, it was just, I don't live this way anymore. I just don't want to live this way anymore. It was that simple. It was really like, I just want to be happy. I don't want to be a sick person anymore. And I recognized that sickness really didn't have anything to do with the body. It had to do with the way I thought about myself. It had to do with the way I was fighting myself, the way I was fighting what was appearing in my experience. And it didn't change overnight. Nothing dramatically happened. I didn't have some miraculous healing or anything. But I realized, with whatever remaining time I have left, I want to be happy. Who wants that? Right? With whatever remaining time I have left here in this world, it chills. I want to be happy. I want to be at peace. I don't want to struggle anymore. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to fight myself. I don't want to call myself names anymore. I spent all my whole life calling myself names. I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm sick, I'm guilty. All the private conversations we all have, we just live in bully land. And I was like, I do not want to live this way anymore. I don't. And that moment was the beginning for me of a whole new space, something wholly brand new. And it was the path then of welcoming, of really being okay with these physical symptoms, of being okay and at peace. Health is inner peace. That's when you know you're healed. When you're at peace with whatever is happening in your situation and in your world. And sickness is inner struggle. is when we're fighting against what is appearing in our experience. And every single thing, and this is just something I have really realized over the last 5 years since 2018, every single thing is here to wake us up. There are no accidents. There is nothing out of place. It is a perfect universe. And everything is here for our awakening, that we come to know our true nature, that what we really are as pure love, as eternal, changeless, shining, radiant love, presence, God, God's being. And so when we're living on the path of suffering and struggling, we've closed ourselves off to all the light that's here. We have closed ourselves off to recognizing our true nature. And when we rest, just resting an instant. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that right now. Just resting. Just going to invite you to find your feet. I always ask everyone to find your feet. Just kind of an awareness of the feet, awareness of the body. Breathing in. You can close your eyes. You can keep them open if you want. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just resting. Just resting for this instant from all thoughts. Nothing to do. Just feel the chair that you're sitting on. Feel the floor. Awareness of the air in the room. Just being. Just being present. Opening the eyes. When you open the eyes, it's the same state as with the eyes closed. There's no difference. That what you are is pure being, awareness of everything that's in your experience. And this is the journey home to the recognition that I am this beingness, that what I am is never sick, what I am never dies, that I am this, that is the quiet, that is the silence, and everything is arising in this silence, in this pure beingness. This body, people, places, the earth, the trees, the room, the house you're in, the car, wherever you are, there's a shift in perception where you recognize I am this rest and relaxation. I don't rest and relax. I am the rest and relaxation. I am pure being. And there's a moment where it's not intellectual anymore. It's felt. If you could put in the chat board, we only did that for less than a minute. What was your experience just in the quiet? Peace, peace, lightness, expansion, monkey mind, no rest, relief, perfect peace, calmness. Thought was aching a bit, peace and oneness, crying. And so all of that's arising in I am. all of it, even the monkey minds. Even see, that's where like things really shifted for me because I always had this false idea that I wasn't supposed to have those monkey mind thoughts anymore, that I was going to be totally at peace and I wasn't going to have any thoughts or I wasn't going to have any agitation feelings. But in the realization of our true nature, I realized, oh, that stuff's just arising. It's just is. There's nothing wrong with anything. It's all arising. There's nothing out of place. Whatever is happening in your body, in your life, in your bank account, and in the silence is where when we can start to rest there more frequently, you begin to have that feeling that many of you say, that calm serenity, that lightness, that expansion. That is you coming out of contraction, shifting off the path of suffering and darkness onto the path of light. And it feels like this, it's just like an expansion. And what begins to happen is you never can be unconnected. What we are is one. You never can disconnect from what you are. Not possible. But you can shrink yourself into contraction so much that you think you have disconnected yourself from intelligence. You just disconnect from all the intelligence that would tell you exactly what to do in this situation that's will be good for the whole. So when we live on the path of darkness and we live in that very contracted place, we can't hear. We can't see. We are stuck in darkness, and all we see is the darkness. When we peer out from the darkness, we see from the place that we think we're in. So when we can rest, just that one instant of just resting, oh, don't have to do anything. What we are naturally, which is always here, begins to be known by you. And what you are is this intelligence. And you start to know what to do. It's so clear to you. You don't have to check Google anymore. You don't have to ask other people, what do you think I should do? It's just like you're so connected and so clear in the truth of what you are that it's just you're flowing. You're on the path of light now. It's just ease and flow, and things are falling apart around you, and things are shifting and moving, and you don't know what the hell's going on. Flowing with it. Like, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but I don't have to fight it. I don't have to struggle anymore. I'm just in the flow of it. And and that's where this this really is the only thing happening in my mind in this world is this awakening. Is this awakening to what you all experience right here, right now, in the quiet. And for me, it took time. It took a lot of like for me it was just these moments of quiet. Like if I have to really give one practice of how I started moving out of the fighting against myself is that resting and pausing. Just pausing in the moment, finding my feet, not trying to go out into the ethers anymore, not trying to meditate my way into a different experience. I just would be so fully in the moment, just out of the head, just here now, here. And if I'm in a chair, I would just feel the chair. I'd feel the floor. I just like this is how it has been for me. If I lay in the bed, I would just be so, there's my eyes closed and I would just feel the bed? How many of you feel the bed? We don't feel the bed. You know why? Because when we get into bed and when we wake up in the bed in the morning, we're in our head. Most of us don't even know we're in the bed, right? We're so in our head when we go into the bed at night and when we wake up in the morning, we don't even know the surroundings. We're so much in the past and the future that we're nowhere. So when we can begin to have a practice of when you're doing the dishes, be with the dishes, be with the soap, be with the sounds in the room, be with the floor, be right where you are. When you're with someone, be there. Wherever you are, be there. Just be here, just like right here. And the more that you can train yourself to be here, resting in ease. When things start flying, just an unexpected something that comes from out of nowhere and you feel totally disturbed, be in that too. Be in the discomfort. Be with it. Don't just see, okay, what path am I on right now? Am I on the path of fighting? Am I struggling with what is in front of me? Or am I on the path of ease and flow and flowing with it? So I do want to take questions, so I'm going to stop right there. And if you have a question, just raise your hand, or there's a raised hand feature in the bottom. And we just have a very short amount of time, 30 minutes. So if you can just keep your question um, kind of short, um, so we can interact with each other. Hi, Bridget. Nice to see you. I can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself?
Thank you.
There you are.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
wasn't expecting to be asked. I just put my hand up out of desperation more than anything. I'm fixated and I can't break that fixation. About 20 years ago, I left my husband and I decided I had to make my children happy. I wasn't happy myself. And consequently, they're ill, one's severely autistic. My life is just a shambles. And the first thing that when I open my eyes is I think of my sick son. And I know I've done a course in miracles and I, I do get brief glimpses of how I have to embrace everything. And only by embracing it can I let it go. But I still struggle. And my son can't eat lots of foods. And I'm craving all the foods that he can't eat. And I'm eating them. And then I'm feeling guilty. And I'm eating them because I feel so dreadful. And it doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bridget, for coming on. And that's just it. We all have things in our lives that are very difficult, everyone. And and this is the place where we can really see, like you've seen it. You say, I have glimpses. And when we see another suffering, like sometimes we think, well, my suffering's okay. Like we're so used to it, like we're so used to being in pain ourselves that we think but when we see another suffering, it's so difficult. It's so difficult to see someone struggling.
And to
And
think And I think I caused it. That's what's
Yes. Yeah.
going.
Yeah. And that's the work that we do here now is this recognition that the thing that's interesting with the path of suffering is it for almost all of us, it is the path that brings us to our knees where we don't have a solution anymore, that we try everything and we have been through grief and depression and there's no solution. That's where I was. I come right to the end and you recognize I can't solve this. I can't fix this. I can't do anything. And is actually the place where the awakening can happen. It's the place where it's just like I can't fix this. I don't know what to do. I can't do this. And love is always here. Love is always here. It's in your son, it's in everyone. And so when we can be quiet and silent and rest and pause just for that instant, and of Course in Miracles uses the Christian language, which I totally appreciate and love, of Jesus and Christ and Holy Spirit and God. Like to know that you're not alone. Because when we think we cause things and we think we have to fix things, we are in darkness. We are very much alone in that. And we very much think, how can I fix this guilt? And how can I fix this sickness? And how can I relieve the sickness and suffering of another? And when we come right to the end of everything we've tried, and A Course in Miracles says, try them all if you want. Keep trying if you want to solve the problem yourself. But when you come to where the place you are, which is a beautiful place, is that total place of surrender, total place, it feels helpless. It feels to the ego helpless, but it's actually the place of power. It's the place of absolute power when you feel the most hopeless, the most helpless, the most alone, and you just feel, I have failed. I'm a failure. I'm guilty. And then just that quiet moment, just brief moments to remember I'm not alone. I'm not alone here. There's a light here. This light is in my son. It's in me. It's in everyone. It's everywhere. And I don't have to do anything anymore. And I'm not guilty. That's the one thing I want to give to you more than anything is your own healing from guilt. That's the most important thing here is like you're healing to recognize that you don't have to live in guilt anymore. You didn't cause it. This is for awakening for you and for everyone. Go ahead.
When I'm with my son and my former husband, um, they say I'm guilty. You know, why you shouldn't have done this and you shouldn't have done that, and I know I shouldn't have.
Yeah, and this is where Jesus is the best demonstration for all of us, because this is a path where you have to recognize these are voices from your past, and you don't have to listen to those voices anymore. Jesus said he couldn't go back to his hometown. Like we have the hardest time in our hometown with our family members. We go back to Nazareth, and they're the voices of the dead that are our past. They're our past that are telling us you did this as a mother, and you didn't do this as a wife, and you didn't do this as a something, and you didn't do this as a. And so it requires for each and every one of us to go northward, the path of northward, of listening to what God thinks about you. What does God think about you? Tell me, what does God think about you?
The glimpses that I get is I can actually laugh at the
Yeah.
whole situation
Mhm.
and think that's not who I am, and that's not who he is.
Exactly.
But I can't anchor it.
Stay with that. Stay, don't, and just watch the mind when it kind of wants to go back into being guilty. Like just stay with that remembrance of like what I am. And that's like after 2018, for all the years before that, everything that I had been going through was very serious and not funny. It was very just like, yes. And then I had these moments of seeing it was funny. It was just like, I don't know. It was just like there was a joy on the scene that I found it funny that I was acting like a victim. I found it funny and I didn't mourn for those years, quote unquote, lost. Nothing was lost because I was awake now to what I am. There was joy and peace. So I didn't long for the lost years that I was in sickness and pain and all of that. I was rejoicing that here I am now, seeing I'm not a victim. I'm not guilty. And I had situation with a family member that there was even in recently where old grievances were still coming up. I would tell myself, I know better. Why am I still having these thoughts about this person? Why am I still having thoughts that they're selfish and they're needy and they were still doing things that were pushing my buttons? You know, there were still things, and I was just like, why am I still having these thoughts that come up? Shouldn't they be gone by now? Like, I know what I am. And then it was just like, oh, this is coming up because this is still like the non-dual path calls it samskara, old energy that's still hanging around, that's coming up for release. And I just had this willingness to let it all be gone. I didn't have to make it go away. I didn't have to, that's the path of struggling, that I could just allow that energy to be seen. It was okay. I'm not guilty for having these thoughts. They can stay. Okay, no problem. I have grievance thought about this person. Okay, not loving thought. Okay, it's okay. And I'm happy to report that the thoughts did disappear. And maybe they'll come back again. I don't know. But they did disappear. It was the most amazing thing where suddenly I was like, oh, just all I could feel was appreciation for this person. Total love, like absolute love, because that's our nature. What does Course in Miracles say? That grievances hide the light in me. My grievances, my guilt, my judgments against myself keep me in darkness. And when I rest from those grievances and resentments and darkness just for an instant, the light that I am, it's always here. It's not any place different from where you are, Bridget. It's what you are. It's felt by you. It's totally felt by you.
I know what you're saying is true. I do know what you're saying. Uh, but my fixation is very hard to break.
Right. So we are my fixation. So there's that who's the my in there?
I don't understand that line of questioning.
So when you say my fixation, Does the light that you are have a fixation on something, or is it just shining? Is it just the presence of God, which is what we are, doesn't have a my that's what A Course in Miracles calls the body self, the ego. It's like we fixate on something, a problem, a difficulty. And when we fixate ourselves on it, that's where we live. But you
Yeah,
are the power and the presence of God with no fixation except pure light. And so you can see that when you do that. You can see, oh, I'm fixating on this right now. I'm struggling right now. Is this the path I want to be on? Not really. And then you can see, and it will take time probably to break that old habit of fixating
yeah.
on guilt, your son, the problems, this. But more and more you'll see, oh, I don't fixate anymore on that. I'm not fixated. The mind, because when we say that's enough of that, I'm not fixating in that way anymore. I'm going to see it. I'm going to see it when I'm doing it. The more and more you won't be doing it.
My next question was, I don't, I know what not to do, but I don't know what to do. I can see when I'm fixating, and Keith Kavanagh's a Course in Miracles teacher, and
Yeah, I
he
love
said,
him.
be the presence looking at at your problem, and and that will dissolve it. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it I need to really let go. But I don't know what to do when I let go because my whole life has been people pleasing.
And the one thing I want to say, and I'm happy you brought it up because you say I don't know what to do. And I want to say to you, you do know what to do.
Is it a statement?
You do know what to do. We all know what to do. And the thing that says I don't know what to do is that old personal self-identity. That's the image, that's the people pleaser, but that's not what you are. You're all light. And so when I say to each and every one of you, this is giving you your power back because I could give you advice, but the advice you really want to start to recognize and depend upon is your own wisdom, your own intelligence, your own power, your own presence, where you can sit in that and say, to see when you say, I don't know what to do, to catch it, to be aware of it, and then remember my words and remember, oh, I do know what to do. I know what to do. I know what to do here. We all know what to do. And then you'll receive the exact perfect wisdom for any actions that are needed by you, for any words, anything to do or not do. It's all be here for you. And that's where we'll all stop acting like we don't know. We do know. We know. But it does require quiet to see that mind activity and then say, I actually know. I know what to do.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bridget. Any other questions? Don't be shy. If anybody has a question, you don't want to come on video, just put it in the chat board. Hi, Judy.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Just reading through the chat and Joyce, and I'm interested in this as well. When situations in our life are critical, how do we stay in the flow and trust?
Oh, thank you for pointing that out. I just saw that. Well, hello, Joyce, and hello, Judy. Yeah, and that's the crux of it. When situations in our life are critical, how do we stay in the flow and trust? And so that to me is the pause. It is where it's like developing as if you're an athlete, where you're training yourself to be so present to what's unfolding. Excuse me, I'm sitting on my wire here. Okay, sorry about that. And to be able to see the disturbance, to see where you are in the moment without judging it, to be so present to whatever you're watching on the news, whatever's happening in your relationships, in your work, in your money situation, to see the mind activity, to be able to really be present with whatever feelings are coming up without judging them, to see like if you're judging them, just sit down. So it's you're developing now a distance between the event that's unfolding and you, which is pure light. So in a very practical sense, I'll just tell you like how it's been for me is that stuff's always coming up,
Mhm.
it's how it goes. People say stuff, you read something, um, things happening, um, things that are a surprise. My dad passed a couple months ago, came out of nowhere. My Just this week we had two close friends whose close family members passed away. So we get texts and phone calls and we get, thing, and that's just a couple of things. I don't say anything. That's sort of my first line of it's just I've trained myself enough to be present when something comes in, whether it's a text, a phone call, someone saying something to me directly. I'm I hear it, I see it, I read it, and then I'm sort of doing a body scan. I'm doing a mind scan. It's happened so fast for me now where I'm aware of a disturbance. I'm aware of being shocked by something. There's an awareness of like, I don't know how this is going to impact things. I don't know what, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. So that all happens in a very, very fast amount of time, where before, years ago, I was always in a reaction. I was always in a reaction. I'd read something and boom, I'm texting them without stopping. Or somebody says something and I'm just like, something's coming out of my mouth. You can't do that. Why is that happening? Blah, blah, blah. So on everything, I pause. I just have trained myself to see something happening, to just be with it coming up. It's like, okay, this is coming up. And then of course the old lessons come back in. Like the Course in Miracles will come back in, will say, there's nothing outside of you. There's no accidents. This is happening for you. Nothing is against you. This is for you. This all good. So you start to remember some of these lessons. I trust my brother who is one with me if we're doing Course in Miracles. We start to have this training kicks in. And when you pause and rest, just give yourself some space to not react, to see the reaction inside without kind of putting it out there. in this openness, something can change. So you might still respond to something, but it's not going to be that reaction that's coming from that place of fear or anger or defense or whatever is our pattern. And that's that's how I do it. Like I just yeah, just a pause.
Well, in that sense, like lately for me, and I don't want to call it practicing presence, but sitting, being present, I guess I would call it, has helped me more than anything, first and foremost, because if I'm being present, I'm seeing everything that's coming in to me and it's not affecting me. Um, what comes to mind is what Jesus said in the Bible: seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be given to you. So for me, I don't know if I'm translating that right or whatever, but for me, I think that means for me, or to me, if I know first and foremost that I am this presence, that's what Jesus is talking about, that um, everything that needs to happen, what the Course in Miracles talks about, forgiveness, all that whole bit comes after you are the kingdom, because the kingdom will bring all of that to you for you to see. And if it's, say, that's an example of anger that comes in, then as presence, you can allow that anger to come to full bloom, and it is healed by presence, not by me, the person, trying
Yeah,
to heal it.
exactly. That's it. Yeah, and you say an important thing, Judy, and I just want to, kind of say it again for everybody who maybe missed it. But it is our presence that's the most important thing. When my dad was in the hospital, I got a text and he passed in a week. It just was like this unexpected thing. And I remember being in that hospital room with him, and at first it didn't seem like it felt like, yeah, well, he can heal. Like he hadn't gotten the diagnosis yet, that he's only got a short time left. But at first it was just like, oh, he's still going to be here and all of that. But then something kicked in where I recognized I don't have to do anything. I just have to be here. I just have to be here. And presence is all that's needed. I don't have to do anything anymore. I don't have to help him. I don't have to do anything. And and then there was this moment I realized, oh, this is it. Like he's not going to be here much longer. And I was so at peace. I was so feeling like, wow, this is so amazing. Like that I can just be here, just not doing anything anymore, not
Mhm.
trying to change anything. It's just happening. It's just this is what's happening right now. And to just be able to just be in that room, and he couldn't hear me. He was really having a lot of physical difficulties. It was so I didn't have to even talk to him. I didn't have to do any. I just sat sort of, I was around. I was go out in the hallway and just do my thing and, go get waters and it was an amazing experience for me. And so I just want to thank you, Judy, because that's important for all of us. It's just like to me, a lot of what's happened over the last several years is the shift from doing to being, to really recognizing that just my presence, not doing anything, just being here with the cats and with just being with Bill, with whoever, is enough. So
Yeah,
thank you so much, Judy.
thank you. I
Also,
just wanted to mention when my dad passed away in 2010, he was in he was 96, but he had lived on his own. Went to hospice, and my brothers and sisters and I took turns sleeping on the cot at the foot of his bed, and I was there the night he passed. And what happened was his spirit, I believe, woke me up from a deep sleep, and the whole room was filled with this incredible bliss and love. And it was in that moment that I knew without a doubt that there was no death. It was simply a transmission. You know,
yeah, exactly. That's beautiful. Yeah,
thank you. Thank
thank
you.
you so much. I just want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank you, Lynn. Also, I'm so sorry for your daughter. I didn't know about that. Your 49-year-old daughter passed in January. I cannot find any presence in that, and I don't feel like love and light one bit. And the thing is we are that. We don't even have to feel it. We are that. We don't have to. It's kind of like someone being a girl and being like, I don't feel like a girl. Well, you are one. Like I'm just using a very basic, it's like you don't have to feel like it. Like you are light, you are love. And again, like to lose a child, and to have something like that happen, these these moments can take us to the depth of despair, the depth of grief, the depth of what is happening. Why? What? Is this like this whole feeling of just like dedicated my life to this path and bad stuff still happening and unexpected things are still happening and to me this is the recognition that there's only one thing here is that we are waking up to the truth of what we are. And your daughter is shining right now. She is shining. She is shining in light on all of us. She is free. And and that may not be comfort to you, but that's where we are coming to. I love lesson 132 in A Course in Miracles. It said it's one of the hardest lessons that we have to learn. There is no world where we can really start to have this direct experience of oneness, that nothing ever dies, and that's a hard one because we want the bodies here, right? We miss the personality, the sweetness of all the people we've loved and we've lost and our pets and we're not taking any of that away. But it is really a choice for all of us where we can say, okay, I can keep suffering and struggling, or I can really start to see that I don't want to really live the rest of my life this way. And I just want to just do a shout out for anyone who likes this kind of material is that I'm teaching a 4-week class starting on Monday, September 9th, right after Labor Day. And it's I don't know if you can drop in a link in that. It's on the centerfораwakening.org website or my website, lisanatoli.com under events. And it's going to be live. We're going to do 90 minutes every Monday. It's going to be recorded. And there's also a 2-day workshop in there because what I want to do in those 4 weeks is sort of a deep dive. And that's why I added the weekend in there on your specific stuff, traumas, personal stuff. That's the work I do as a teacher now. This is not about spiritual affirmations and quoting stuff anymore. It is about really healing what's stuck in you, the suppressed emotions, the buried emotions, the resentments, the hurts, the anger, to be able to see it all, feel it all, embrace it all, just to allow that space, that openness where that stuff can come up. Because A Course in Miracles says conflict must be resolved. It cannot be evaded, set aside, called by another name if it would be healed. It has to be seen exactly as it is. You have to see what you buried. It has to come up. If you keep it buried, it can't be healed. So when you can say, I'm ready, I'd like to do this. So it's like 4 weeks together. It's live, it's with me, it's with this group. That's there for the whole 4 weeks. And yeah, I'm excited for it. And I'm just so grateful that you all showed up. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everyone. Seeing you all, loving you all. Have an awesome rest of the day.